Internet! I'm Elliot the Purple-Haired Doofus, and welcome back to The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Today we're covering chapters 34, 35, 36, and 37, so I hope you've read up to that point because I don't want to ruin anything for you. Where we left off last time, Kvothe was on his way to university in a carriage, and he was building a romance with a woman named Denna. And the next chapter opens up with a romantic rival joining the group. A man named Josen. And as most romantic rivals go, Josen is just the perfect everyman. He walks around with his head held high. He shows that he is just the most attractive man in every situation. They're sitting around the campfire one night when Josen pulls out his lute. And he starts playing. And the music that he's playing really tugs at Kvothe's heart. Kvothe goes up to Josen and he asks him very diplomatically if he could play the lute. And while Josen is at first and understandably afraid to give Kvothe the lute, he eventually gives in and lets him play it. Kvothe picks up the lute and plays it beautifully. Plays it amazingly. And everyone is shedding a tear after he is done. And Kvothe stands up and he apologizes for his wonderful playing for no reason that I can think of, and gives it back to Josen. The next chapter has the carriage arriving near the university that Kvothe is supposed to go to. And Kvothe is left with an incredibly difficult decision. It's at this time that Denna says that she is falling for Kvothe. And she wants badly for Kvothe to just continue on the trip with her. So Kvothe could either go to university or he could follow with Denna and live a happy life with her. And it tears his soul in two. On the one hand, he really needs to fulfill his promise that he made to Ben before they split up. But on the other hand, Denna's so pretty. And she's so gorgeous. And, you know, he just really, really wants to be with this woman. So bad. He ends up going to university because Kvothe is a man of his word. And while he loves Denna so much, he has made no promise to her. He has made a promise to Ben. And all of this work that came towards this moment, and all of the hardships that he had lived through to get to this moment, would have been for nothing if he didn't go to university. Kvothe gets to the university, and the first thing that he does is he goes to the library because he desperately wants to see all of the books in the library. And if you're watching my videos, I think you can understand that feeling. Unfortunately, he can't go into the library to see the books because he's not quite a student yet, and he needs to be registered. And he finds out, while the person behind the desk is telling him all this, that he has about 2 hours to register to become a student, so he better, you know, run as fast as he can to get registered if he wants to read those books anytime soon. He gets there, and this is where things get a little muddy, because he gets there and he is questioned by the teachers, and they're quizzing him on his knowledge, and he is blowing them away with his answers. He is answering everything perfectly. And it mentions in the book that he spent time listening to other students' answers before he went in. So he knew all the questions that were going to be asked, and he knew the answers to all of those questions. And I'm just thinking to myself, if he only had 2 hours when he got to the library, how did he have time to spy on the students and get the questions and answers that he needed? Did I read that wrong? After the questioning, he is allowed to plead his case to the teachers. And he pleads and begs and grovels for them to let him in. And he heard all of the tuitions that were coming out of the questioning. All the people having to pay so much money. I would mention how much money it is, but the money system isn't exactly easy to comprehend. I can't even equate anything. There's talents, there's pennies, there's jots. I guess an amount of pennies equal a jot, and 8 jots equal a talent. It's a little confusing. After he hears how all of these students are going to have to be paying all of this money, he goes to the teachers and he says, I don't have any money. If you accept me, but tell me that I have to pay a certain amount, I can't come in. If you accept me and tell me that I don't have to pay anything, I can come in, but I'm going to be worse for wear, because I won't have any money to buy any supplies or live up anywhere. But if you accept me and you give me money, let's say 2 talents, then I will be the best damn student you've ever had. You won't have any complaints from me. So if you do that, it will be the best decision that you've ever made. Of course, the teachers are shocked by this proposal. No student has ever asked for money. I mean, why would they, right? He gets an answer from the teachers. They say, you've been accepted, but you have a tuition of minus 3 talents. He's dumbstruck, and he is just depressed beyond all belief. How in the world is he going to get together 3 talents? And he just collapses, because this is the worst news that he could have ever imagined. The teachers are all leaving the conference room, and one of them asks why he's so downtrodden. And he says, how in the world am I ever going to get 3 talents? And the teacher says, I think you had better look at that paper just a little bit more carefully. And so he does. And he notices that it says minus 3 talents and not just 3 talents. And that minus 3 talents means that the teachers and the staff are ready to give him 3 talents to attend school there. Of course, now that this is kind of on his side, he is overjoyed. And he goes out and he finds affordable living conditions. And he meets up with some of his fellow students. He goes to the cafeteria and he meets up with some of his fellow students. There's Simon, there's Savoy, there's another guy I can't remember the name of. There are a lot of them. But he's sitting there in the cafeteria and they're all giving him the lowdown on where to sleep, where to get cheap food, what teachers to aim for when he's signing up for classes, who to pal around with, and who to stay far, far away from. As they're talking about other students, I realize that these guys are really, really catty. They're just vicious to each other and gossiping behind each other's backs. And it's just not a situation I personally would ever want to be in. That about does it for today's roundup of chapters. Today's question for you to answer down in the comments is, what would you choose? Would you choose work slash education? Or would you choose love? Because that is the ultimate question that Kvothe had to answer in today's section. Yesterday's question was, what would be your snapping point where you would drop everything and follow your dreams? Maybe you don't know this, but this is basically me following my dreams. This is me trying to get paid for artistic reasons. My snapping point was the job that I have now is no longer fulfilling me in the same way that it did when I first started. And I want to do anything I can to get away from it. And while I can't really drop it, because then I would have nowhere to live, I would have no way to make money, I can't even talk about it because it could ruin me right now. I am starting to do this before I drop, but I definitely want to drop it at some point. And I definitely want to tell you guys about it sometime, but I can't right now. It is just far too dangerous. Don't forget that the next book that I'm going to be reading is Sacre Bleu by Christopher Moore. Go out and grab it by any legal means necessary. Get it at a library, buy it at a bookstore, borrow it from a friend, get it on a Kindle. I don't care what you do as long as it's legal. And make sure that you read it so I don't ruin it for you. I have been the purple-haired doofus reminding you to watch your pajamas, and I will see you all in the next chapters of The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.